This show is sponsored by Great Kingdom Palace, giving life a meaning.
Welcome everybody to the Amit Khan Show, Get Closer to the Truth. Today's topic is all about personal transformation. And I want to basically talk to you about why well-being is such an important thing. So today we're going to talk about what is well-being. How do we implement financial and personal well-being into our daily lives? Now today's guest, he's a well-being coach, he's a motivational speaker, he's worked for two of the largest technology companies in the world, and he goes around to corporate companies teaching employees on how to implement well-being into their lives and how to live a balanced life. And also, he's been trained by Deepak Chopra in the US. So let's please welcome Cesar Gamio. How are we doing? You okay?
Thank you for having me.
Take a seat.
Thank you.
So thank you, Cesar, for coming on to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So tell me your journey, because it's fascinating, and how you got to where you are today. So tell me.
Ooh. Well, I was born and raised in Peru, and I was very ambitious from early on in my life, and I decided to get a degree in international business in the US. So I traveled to America, I got a degree in international business, and then because of my grades, I managed to get a full scholarship to finish my degree in Japan, actually. And I finished my degree in Japan in 1993, and I was very eager to conquer the world, right? So for 20 years, I worked in the corporate space. Out of those 20 years, 15 I worked for Microsoft and Motorola. And very early on in my career, like I said, I was really ambitious and I didn't mind working 60, 70 hours a week. Until one day, after coming back from a business meeting, I realized as soon as I walked into the office, I picked up a magazine and I couldn't read the cover of the magazine, and I realized that I couldn't see. So I stepped out of the office, I got into my car, and then I realized that I couldn't drive because I couldn't see. So I had to swallow my pride and call my mom and ask her to pick me up. Took me to the hospital, and to make a long story short, I was diagnosed with acute stress at the age of 27.
Wow, that's a young age.
Exactly, yeah. And I said to myself, how come I got to this stage of being so stressed and affecting my health at the age of 27? What's going to happen when I turn 35 or 40?
Yeah.
Am I actually going to get to 40?
Wow.
So that's when I started, going to therapy. I bought every single self-help book. I bought every DVD, audio seminar, whatever. Until I run into the works of Dr. Deepak Chopra, who is a medical doctor, and he also comes from India. And I was really keen on the wisdom traditions of the East. And then I went to the Chopra Center in the US. I learned a few well-being.
And where were you living at this time?
I was still living in Peru at the time.
So you traveled from Peru?
Yeah, all the way to...
especially to US,
exactly,
to see one of his workshops, Deepak Chopra's workshops.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I went to the Chopra Center. I spent a week there. I was taught a few well-being practices, including meditation. And then I got back to Peru. And then after 6 weeks of meditating and integrating these well-being principles, I stopped smoking after having smoked for 15 years.
Wow.
I stopped drinking. Just my life completely changed and my career blossomed, and that's how I decided to actually go back to the center to learn more about these practices. But not because I wanted to teach, it's because I really wanted to just be a happier guy.
Of course.
And then it got to the point in which I met with Deepak and I said, listen, I want to learn more about this. And he said, get certified as an instructor. I said, I don't want to be an instructor, I just want to learn for myself. So he said, just get certified in all these disciplines, and then you'll make your mind whether you want to teach or not. And then because I was just doing so well at work, my colleagues, my boss, management, they realized how well I was doing, and they kept on asking me, what is it that you're doing? So I started sharing with them these practices in a very informal way, until then I finally clicked on, that my purpose really was to help people increase their, capacity for physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being,
Wow.
Especially in the corporate place.
Of course, yeah. So tell me, what is the definition of well-being?
So if you look it up in the dictionary, well-being is a state of feeling happy, comfortable, and and healthy. But if you want to extend that definition, then well-being in reality is a combination of loving what you do, for a living, having the physical vitality and the energy to do what you need to do during the day, managing your finances, responsibly, having loving relationships in your life, and contributing to society. So there are 5 key elements really that comprise the true definition of well-being: physical well-being, professional well-being, financial well-being, social well-being, and community well-being.
Wow. So we talk about those 5 elements because obviously they're on your website, and that's my next question. What is, or how does one attain professional well-being?
I think there are 4 key components in order to attain professional well-being. First and foremost, you need to find what your purpose in life is. And if you haven't found it, then you need to, you do have one, you just need to, find it.
I totally agree with you. Everyone has a soul destination.
Exactly,
that's right,
exactly, yeah. And sometimes, you might not just have one purpose, you might have multiple purposes in your life, but you need to at least find the first one. Once you found that, then you have to align your job or your occupation or your activity to that purpose. Make a career out of it and make sure you are of service. So if you incorporate those 4 components, so purpose, job, career, and being of service, that's how you can attain professional well-being.
Wow, and that's very powerful. Now, in the first part of that, you said, you've got to establish what your sole purpose is. Now, thank God you found your sole purpose, and now you're on your journey in terms of helping people. But let's say, for example, somebody's just working 9 to 5, and they're in their job. How does actually one find out what their sole purpose is?
There are many ways, but I think that the most powerful way of actually finding one's purpose is through the practice of meditation, really.
Right, okay, yeah.
Just meditating 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. And you can just choose a very simple technique. Either you just sit down and focus or bring your attention to your awareness or to a mantra or to a word. Just quiet your mind, and then your soul will actually start communicating with you, and those deeper inner thoughts will start coming out.
That's right.
And you'll gain the clarity and the vision of what you're here to do.
And it's such an important meditation is so important that in the day, like Cesar said, that is when you meditate, you're going to get these thoughts that come to you, and when you basically take away all the elements of the mind, because the mind is very strong to obviously deactivate, but once you've done that and you've achieved that, then you have this what we call an inner voice talking to you, telling you what to do. Yeah. But most of the time we suppress those thoughts and we don't act on them because we're so busy in our daily lives. And once you start activating what the actual soul is telling you to do, it then becomes stronger and stronger, and therefore eventually you then become to what you call your soul destination. Would you agree?
You've said it all.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So how does someone attain financial well-being?
So there's this notion that financial well-being has to do with the amount of money that you earn or your net worth, and the latest research basically states that financial well-being has really nothing to do with the amount of money or your net worth, but it has to do with how well you manage your economic life, really. So as long as you are above the poverty line, if you manage your economic life well, then financial well-being is attainable. Exactly.
Great. Now, I looked on your website, and you've got what we call the 6 tastes of success. Now, I was very intrigued about this. So tell me more what this is all about.
So, taste, is it's a big part of the, eating experience, right? But taste does also have a functional and a practical aspect to it. You see, when we're hungry, our brain sends a signal to our body that indicates that we're hungry, right? And there's a way to inform our brain that we've eaten the major food groups and nutrients, and that's through the sense of taste, because the nutritional content of food is actually coded. The nutritional content of the food is actually coded in the food itself, and it's coded through the taste. So there are 6 tastes. You have sweet, salty, sour, pungent, bitter, and astringent. So every time you sit down to eat a meal, you have to make sure that you have those 6 tastes in your plate, because that's the way to inform your body that you've eaten enough. So, for instance, if you go to a fast food restaurant and if you get a burger, chips, and a soda, right? You're getting sweet, sour, and salty. So if you're missing out on pungent, bitter, and astringent, and basically that's your fruits, vegetables, and a bunch of herbs and spices, you're telling your body, or your body's actually registering that you haven't eaten enough. So that's why when we go to a fast food restaurant, we keep on eating, because we haven't actually, let the body know that we've eaten everything that we need to eat. So it's very important to get those 6 tastes in every sitting, actually.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah. That's very powerful. Well, we're going to take a short break. Don't go too far, because when Cesar comes back, we're going to basically take some questions that we've had from the audience and from the viewers at home, and he'll be answering this when we come back. So we'll see you shortly. Welcome back to the Amit Khan Show. Now, just before the break, we were talking to Cesar, Gamio, and we explained to us really kind of what well-being is and how we can implement that into our lives. But now we've got some questions that have come from the viewers, and we're going to basically come and answer them. But before I do that, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the corporate work you do.
Yep.
So tell me more about that.
So basically, I help them with how to deal effectively with stress, how to increase their productivity, how to attain higher levels of performance, how to increase their intuition and creativity. So a number of different things. Just last about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was hired by a big beauty company to help them increase their capacity for focus and concentration. So a number of different approaches, really, I do with.
Great. And we were just telling me a story that one of the corporate companies actually told Cesar to actually, can you take out meditation out of your workshop, and obviously, tell me, so obviously, that was, Cesar was saying that was one of the major things, but, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so this particular company hired me because they wanted their employees to increase their capacity for focus and concentration, and the medical research, all, coincide, in terms of suggesting suggesting that people that want to increase their capacity for focus and concentration, which in science is referred to as cognitive control, should practice meditation. And I actually brought the medical papers, to support that. And they had to agree to it, But once they had the experience, they absolutely loved it, and now they want to replicate it, to the different management groups within the company.
That's right.
So it's going beyond, the myths surrounding meditation. And once they realize the value of it, then they just want more of it, really.
So we have got some questions that have come from the viewers at home. And our first one is from Loila, and she says, could you share with us the impact that Deepak Chopra has had on your life? So tell us more about that.
Massive. I mean, first of all, Deepak is a medical doctor, and that's important to me because of my training and the type of work that I've done. I'm very analytical, very rational about how I approach things. So I really wanted to find someone who can actually talk to me in scientific terms in terms of how I could improve my well-being. So, and in addition to that, as I mentioned before, he comes from India, so he brings all this baggage of the wonderful Eastern wisdom traditions of the East, and he's written more than 80 books. I've read almost all of them. He's been a personal mentor of mine, and he's been guiding me throughout this process for now 10 years.
And obviously you also do the workshops, right, as well?
Yep.
Yeah. So you do workshops, you do one-to-one coaching, and you also do keynotes.
The keynote speech.
So if someone wants to get hold of yourself, how do they do that?
Oh, they can just go to my website. It's my name, cesargamio.com.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and all social media, and so I have multiple points of contact, really.
Great, excellent. Yeah. So our next question from the viewers is, what is more important, financial well-being or social well-being? And this question comes from Raj in Northampton.
Interesting question. So again, financial well-being is basically how well you manage your economic life, and social well-being has to do with the quality of your relationships and if there's love in your life. So both are equally important, and you can actually work on both at the same time. Now, having said that, there's this notion that in order to be happy, you need to be successful, right? But science now says that you have to be happy first, and then success will come your way. That's so right. I would say you need to work. You can work on both at the same time, but make sure that you're happy first if you want to be successful.
Great. So that's a good. So in terms of you have because at the beginning of the show you were saying there was 5 key elements, wasn't there? Yeah. So financial is one of them. Social is one of them. What's the other 3?
Physical, professional, financial, social, and community well-being.
So in your opinion, which one would come first?
Arguably, professional well-being, because 60% of our waking time, we spend working, and but I would say that all of them are equally important. But make sure that you find your purpose, and make sure that your activity, occupation, and your job are it's aligned with that kind of purpose, and make sure you are of service to to other people. And if you manage to do that, then all of the other 4 elements will be positively impacted by it.
So let's say, for example, somebody is at work at the moment, and let's say, for example, they're not happy. What do they do?
First of all, they should not conform. They should not think that that's the only option they've got in life. First, they have to come to the realization that they're not happy, and once they internalize that, they can, start. First of all, engaging in a meditation practice, in a daily meditation practice. That'll give them the clarity, the emotional clarity, the mental clarity, in order to decide, what the next steps are. But first and foremost, they need to make sure that they're not going to conform, and that they want something better, and to make a conscious decision that they want something better for themselves, and take on meditation practice.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Meditation is definitely very, very key.
That's
very key. I totally agree. So our next question is from Lisa, and she's from Nottingham. Can you give me some tips and advice on how to sit still and meditate? We're just talking about meditation, right?
Exactly,
So how do you meditate?
Well, so there are literally hundreds and hundreds of meditation techniques. I was just recently in India, and I went to a meditation center run by the Osho community. And there are just 125 meditation techniques just in that particular center.
Wow,
so
125?
Imagine.
Wow.
So the meditation technique that I use is basically a silent meditation in which I use a mantra or just a group of words that allows me to bring my attention to anchor my attention, to the present moment. So if people are uncomfortable with using words they don't understand, they can use I am as a mantra.
I've heard of that one. I am, yes.
I am.
Yeah.
Not I am Amit, because Amit has a history. So just I am. Right?
I am, yeah.
Or they can just focus their attention on their breath. So some kind of anchor, right? So if they're using a mantra, they can just close their eyes and just repeat that mantra. So the mantra that I sometimes use, which is a generic mantra, is so hum. So I just close my eyes. I sit comfortably with my feet, both feet on the floor. My hands in a very comfortable position. My back straight. I close my eyes and I just repeat silently. I'm just going to say it out loud because, I just want people to hear the mantra. And I just go, so hum, so hum. And if my attention, drifts away to a thought or to a noise in the environment or to a sensation in the body, I just gently bring it back, so hum, so hum. Or you can do it with the breath or with I am.
Try that for 20 minutes. And what is 20 minutes? 20 minutes is not a lot of time to give up in the morning or even in the evening.
And actually, you can get started with 5. You can get started with 5 minutes, for a week. And if you're able to, sustain that, then you can move up to 10 for a week. And if you're able to sustain that, you can move up to 15.
And build it up.
It's recommended to do it 30 minutes. I do a practice that's a little longer than that. But even if you do 5 minutes, you'll feel the change, really.
And do you have to be sitting down on the floor, or can you do it on a chair? Or
comfortable, just like this. You don't need to be cross-legged. Other meditation techniques require, a number of different things. But, if you sit comfortably, both feet on the ground, your hands on your lap, you have to be comfortable and make sure your back is straight. That's all it takes, really. That's all it takes.
So many people think that meditation is actually complicated, that there's a certain way of doing it. The actual purpose of it, if you agree, was just to still the mind. Once you still the mind, and then you're obviously getting, it's all about activating the inner voice, the inner consciousness, and that is directing you in terms of where to go,
Exactly.
Okay, let's take another question. So, what have we got? Alex, okay, I'm happy and content at the moment, but my better half seems to find that this transformation is too extreme. How do I convince her that this is not the case?
He doesn't have to convince her. There's no need in defending that. If I'm, going through a process of transformation, and if I'm happy, and if someone thinks that, it's too extreme, who cares?
True. Very true.
Who cares, really?
Yeah.
And eventually they'll realize, that they're going to want whatever I'm doing, and that's been, my whole life experience, really.
But what happens though? We're in that case, and obviously we're in a relationship, and obviously if they are not accepting that, obviously, I'm doing this meditation, or I'm accepting to move to try and find my spiritual, because it does happen. Obviously, partners don't align together. There's always one partner going to it, and if they do find that they are getting negativity, what do you suggest?
What I would suggest, and I speak of personal experience, I spent a lot of time trying to, connect with myself. And my wife kept telling me, it's all right for you to connect with yourself, but don't forget to connect with me. You know, and she had a point. She had a valid point. And once I became aware that I was perhaps focusing a bit too much on connecting with myself,
side of things.
Then I realized, I said, you know what, you're right. You know, and so I've balanced things.
You've balanced it out.
Exactly.
So basically, you know, obviously remembering to take, you know, to obviously spend time with the other half, but at the same time doing your bit on spirituality.
Exactly.
So having that 50-50 balance, if you like, you know.
So I've toned down on the silent retreats and going away to ashrams, you know. So now there's a perfect balance. But communication is key.
Yeah,
really.
no, of course, yeah, totally. Well, that's the end. We've got now. So, Cesar, can you tell the audience and the viewers how they can get hold of you?
You can go to my website, www.cesargamio.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or just Google my name and you'll find me.
Great. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. So that's all we've got time for today. So if you would like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to be part of the audience, we'd love to have you here. Do log on to allthews.amitkane.co.uk, or you can check out some videos on YouTube and subscribe to that. Other than that, we'll see you next week for more Get Close to Truth. Thank you so much.
To find out more about Amit Kane, please take a look at his new book called The Gift, out now in all major bookstores. This show is sponsored by Great Kingdom Palace, giving life a meaning.